Okay, this is a happy story, everyone, so just enjoy this moment. Tell everyone your name, yeah.
My name is Selene Jones. I am the local chapter leader for the Weston A. Price Foundation, which is an ancestral foodways and lifeways and nutrition education organization. And I'm the mother of 2 toddlers, almost 2 and just turned 4.
Okay, so the first question I think is, why would you not vaccinate your children?
Well, my entryway into natural mothering was home birth, because I was friends with a home birth midwife. And so about 10 years before I even had kids, I knew that I'd be giving birth at home. And I knew how physiological birth is so different from birth in a hospital. And that was really my gateway to consider a lot of what I was doing in the rest of my life, including my nutrition. And I also became friends with another just local woman who's a hospital midwife who since then has left that system. But she taught me a lot about ancestral nutrition, and she introduced me to the Weston A. Price Foundation. And it actually, for me, spurred a lot of culinary memories about my own Slovakian and Ukrainian heritage. And so I recognized like the fatty fish and the organ meats and the bone broth and the sauerkraut and the yogurt, and all of that was like second nature to me. And I was like, oh my God, this is what my grandmother used to feed me. And that is, in fact, how this works, is that these things are cultural memories carried forward from ancient cultures to today of what keeps us healthy, fertile, and staves off disease. And so from there, I became, involved in the local chapter, and when the chapter leader moved, I became the local chapter leader. And so now my role is to help people find the local natural raw foods that our ancestors ate in this area in Western Pennsylvania. And so the Weston A. Price Foundation is pretty explicitly vaccine critical, and so that was by then a comfortable role for me. Slowly over the years, I guess I would say in political discussions on Facebook, I grew bolder because I could see that other people did not have the confidence to actually speak out loud what they were seeing or hearing. And I even have several friends that I tried to convince to come today who have had significant vaccine injuries in their lives. Like one old roommate of mine spent 2 separate years of her life in a wheelchair after receiving flu vaccines.
Vaccines.
Yeah, I guess she had Guillain-Barré. I've known other people who have had significant injuries, and some of them chose to keep vaccinating. And so not everybody is really ready to state out loud and put their name and their face behind their own actual experiences. And so I figured that, although I don't know if I'm the right person to do that, that I would step forward and start talking about it. And I did. And pretty quickly I realized that kind of wasn't enough. I had to find a way to try to serve my community. And so that's why I got involved with the foundation, and why I show up to events like this.
Now, let's talk about your children. You've got 2.
Yes.
2 years and 4 years.
That's right.
Boys or girls?
The 4-year-old is a boy, and the almost 2 is a girl.
Okay, and how is their health? Do they have seizures?
No.
Ear
no,
infections?
in fact, they've
things?
kind of really never been sick, like as other people would say that children get sick. I mean, what I've noticed from sort of just casual exposure to normal families who do all the medical interventions is that it seems like people think it's normal for your baby to be sick a couple times by the time they're 1. I guess to me that's really not normal, because my children, I guess maybe they've had like 1 day's worth of a sneeze or a tummy ache, perhaps once or twice, but until we all had COVID, for whatever you want that to mean, last June, they had never been sick until they were, in their toddler years. As infants, they were never sick. They have never had ear infection, never been on antibiotics, never had any pharmaceuticals or of any kind, and they've really kind of never been sick such that we had to take much of a break from our lives or do any interventions for them at all.
So what if they are, playing with other kids and that the other kids are sick?
Yeah.
Do your kids just not get sick, or what?
Mostly not. I mean, I guess if we hear somebody's sick, we kind of stay away, because what I try to teach them is that part of staying healthy is actually resting and staying home when you're sick. I think that's one of the reasons that people today are also so sick, is that not only do they fill their bodies with junk, but they don't know how to really respect their body's natural rhythms and take a break. And when somebody is feeling sick, where they should be is at home. And so when I hear somebody sick, I just go, we'll take your time then, and we'll see you next time. If they have been around sick kids, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It just doesn't really seem to happen. I mean, nobody's ever sneezed in anyone's face, but like, who knows which of these things are true anyway? And no, I couldn't honestly say that it really phases me that much.
How important is food? Let's talk about this for a second, because a very well-known doctor in our movement would say, if you're going to fill your child with junk food, you might as well vaccinate. That would be her line. She was just like, it's no good just not vaccinating and then eating junk.
Right. Well, luckily, most people who are exposed to one thing are exposed to many, and they start to realize too that community is the key to actually making these lifestyle choices work, because you need to know who else is homeschooling, where to get natural meat, how to find raw milk, and that's part of what we do. But the most important ingredient in the success of mothers is other mothers when it comes to making natural lifestyles a reality. And so, yeah, basically, sticking together is a major ingredient.
Another question, just randomly here. So I was talking to someone yesterday who's got severe allergy to, dairy. Can they have raw milk? Is raw milk?
They would have to see. I would say at some point in their healing process they can, yes, but it may not be right away. So pasteurization is a temperature much higher than cooking, and it denatures the proteins and changes them so that they're highly inflammatory. And instead of absorbing them as our bodies, would otherwise do with not denatured milk proteins, your body starts to create pus, and as soon as it moves through your digestive tract, your body is almost trying to create insulation and saying, get this pasteurized dairy out of there. Whereas raw dairy is actually, a probiotic superfood, and if you think about it, all mammals' first food is milk. We're designed to digest milk. Now, the cow milk protein is larger and a little harder to digest, so that may not be someone's first stop if they're having any trouble. Usually, goat milk is considered closer to the human protein in milk. So, if you're going to try a raw dairy that you think you may be sensitive to, try goat before you try cow, and that's fairly widely available as well. Realmilk.com is a global directory of raw milk providers that, hopefully you can find one within driving distance. And we get ours about once a week. We go through about 4 gallons a week, and it's super delicious and fresh and wonderful. And it so happens that here in Pennsylvania, we have a lot of kind of dairy agriculture and Mennonite and Amish agricultural producers that are small but big enough to really distribute. And so we buy our raw dairy from a business called The Family Cow, which delivers using the Joel Salatin van system all over the state. And so we get it fresh every week. And in addition, these people, believe it or not, because they were so sick of hearing the message that, raw milk is dangerous, which statistically is not true, they built a little lab on their property, and now they test every batch before it goes out. So you can't actually get diseases from their milk because they test for them and they're not there.
Another question, something I'm seeing out on the road, is we are seeing completely unvaccinated children with some issues, and their parents claim that they're on this organic diet. How much of the mother's previous vaccine or gut-related issues do you think plays a part in that? Because we're trying to get to the bottom of
yes,
that.
I've actually been looking into that kind of stuff myself. I've been reading kind of books about the function of the liver, and we've had a little bit of that in our family. My kids do have like a tiny bit of rashiness once in a great while, and I've seen that they react to eggs. Now, they've never been vaccinated, but a lot of people who have been vaccinated, I guess, have the same reaction to eggs, which is an ingredient in some vaccines. And egg white, when it's raw in particular, is, I know, an allergen that kind of spurs a lot of skin reactions and eczema in people. My kids' skin stuff is very mild and very occasional, and if I can avoid raw eggs, because I really go crazy with the ancestral cooking, so I'll make homemade mayonnaise using raw egg yolks, or egg whites rather. The whites are the difficult to digest part. But so they've been exposed to raw egg whites and had a little rash, but otherwise I would say they're pretty allergy free and skin issue free. But I do, my own conclusion about that for myself and my kids was that yes, probably there was residual liver toxicity in me a little bit that would have been responsible, since they haven't really been exposed to anything like that.
Yeah, so
it may not be totally avoidable, but it's treatable. And as with the mother, the child, you can detox people's livers so that the long-term storage is released and expunged and absorbed by the binders that you can kind of take while you're doing a mild detox of some kind. And after that, which is something that a naturally minded mother can easily manage at home. It's not rough or hard on the child's system, and that basically can take care of things like that. It's not a lifelong sentence. Pharma would love us to believe that these things are lifelong sentences, but they're just not. If you know how to restore balance in your body and go with its natural processes, you can get back to that balance pretty quickly.
So if you or your kids, and you don't have to answer any of these questions, I'm just fascinated, and I'm really asking the questions that people are talking about on the road. So if you and your children do get a sore throat, your glands are up a bit in your neck or whatever, and you're starting to feel congested, how would you treat that in your household? And by the way, everyone, of course, Children's Health Defence does not give out medical advice.
Right. And neither does the Western Price Foundation.
There you go.
What would I do? I guess if they had a mild sore throat, I'd probably, give them a little vitamin C, natural vitamin C. I would say take a rest, drink some bone broth, some soup or some tea or something, herbal tea. And I would just basically, we would do like a few hours of rest, and that's generally like all it would take, I think.
Steamy showers. You put the shower on when I was a little girl.
Yes.
That's what they used to do.
Yes, totally.
Run the bathroom all moist, and you sit in there and breathe.
Yeah, they also sell, like kind of a natural Vicks that's just a little bit of essential oils in like a beeswax balm. And some people think that essential oils are endocrine disruptors, so they try to totally stay away from them. I don't really take a hardline stance on that personally, but I don't also use them all the time, which I kind of do think is bad. So we have kind of, we do like a balance of vitamins, herbs, supplements, things like that. But my children are so little and they've been so healthy that really we don't do too many interventions. We just try to keep them really well nourished and hydrated. And when they're, not maybe in their top form, they rest. And that's all it takes.
Rest. Okay. And so, do your children are 2 and they're 4? Do they speak or make?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh my God. Yes. No. They could hold, because they were born in a really natural context with no medication added to their birth process. They both lifted their heads and like looked around and were totally alert and interactive from the moment they were born. And we viewed that as very precious, and we noticed how different it was from most babies that you meet. Because like people are used to infants being like these unresponsive lumps that don't have any visual cues, and that's just not what an infant really is like. An infant is really a person who's reactive and can tell you what they think if you're paying attention from the moment they're born.
So I spoke to another young girl the other day, and she actually said to me, my dad said that if I ever get pregnant and give birth at home, he would call the police.
So that happens to a lot of people. It really does, because people think they're helping. They think they're rescuing. And in fact, believe it or not, I have a friend in one of my like natural mom networks who, I'll not share her name obviously, but a little bit of her story is that she was trying to have a baby at home, and she began to bleed a little bit in a way that was not normal. She was close to being done and felt sure after her, she had 5 kids and this was her 6th, that she felt sure that she would be done soon and wanted to continue, and she felt that was safest for the baby, which was in transition and on its way out. And when that is happening, what you don't want to do is retard that process and keep the baby in, because then it becomes maybe an oxygen issue. So she was already bleeding. She's like, okay, let's get this baby out. But someone called the paramedics. She actually still doesn't know who, which is really tragic. And what happened is they forcibly sedated her and took her with them. And at that point, she's very religious. She just said, let go and let God. Like, I can't control this. They're taking me now. And I feel certain that those people must have known that actually what they were doing, they thought they were bringing her and her baby to the hospital to be saved, but they really didn't use their heads, because they don't know, how long a baby can survive halfway out of the womb with no oxygen. So this baby died. And this woman was like, this was not my choice. Someone did this to me, and these paramedics were brought in to save me, and they actually killed my child. I feel like that's maybe a slightly more extreme story than is usually heard in these cases. But being plugged into these communities, I hear stuff similar all the time, where somebody's neighbor thinks they're helping, somebody's parent thinks they're helping. In fact, it's very often the people closest to you that have the most stake in trying to shift your choices and chase you out of your natural lifestyle where you're happy and healthy and doing fine. And they'll do something like send the police to your birth. And luckily, in most cases, the protocol is for them to kind of like stand down if nothing's actually wrong. And they do kind of like go away, and they don't have time to sit around. So once you've said no thanks, usually they'll leave. But there are those who maybe don't have a lot going on that day, and maybe in jurisdictions where the rules aren't so clear, that those people will kind of try to take over your situation. And as everyone who's kind of researched this knows, your nervous system feeling at peace, which is why you're at home in the first place, is the key ingredient to the natural progression of labor hormonally. That's what your body wants to do, is be at home, be safe is like number 1, feel safe. And then your body knows to release your baby, and the chain of events happens so that you release your baby. So that's kind of what you really want to shoot for. And obviously those who think they're helping you by inserting strangers with bright lights and scary equipment into your situation, all they've really done is actually ruin your birth.
I could talk to you for ages. I love this conversation.
Oh, thank
but
you.
I do realise that we're very behind on time outside. But what's your advice to families getting ready for the winter? What's ahead with all kinds of craziness?
Oh my gosh. Well, you're wanting to know about COVID measures, and I would say just be honest, stand your ground, and don't be afraid to go where you want to go. But what I want to talk about when it comes to preparing for the winter is buy a freezer. Learn your local farmers. Call me if you want, and contact the Weston A. Price Foundation. We'll help you find local sources of beef and local, CSAs, community supported agriculture, that goes into the fall. And with a freezer and maybe a little canning, you can actually feed your family over the winter from local sources without buying tropical avocados and crazy fruit. You can actually know your farmers. You can know the names of the cows that you're eating. Like, you literally can, and it's not that hard. And I wish I'd done it years ago. I would advise anyone who's thinking about it to start today.
Thank you so much just for, the really fun conversation. I really enjoyed it. I'm
Likewise.
so pleased that you have these wonderful, healthy children.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for all that you do, Polly. It's an honor to meet you.
Well, it's Children's Health Defence, and we stand shoulder to shoulder with you guys.
That's right. That's true.
So we are.